is Team Know Your Leader from the 2024 Journalism AI Fellowship. It is a collaboration between CJID from Nigeria and Al Jazeera from Qatar. They've developed a platform that helps journalists and the public track politicians' speech over time and understand their various positions on different things. So today we have with us Monsur and Nicholas, maybe, I'm not sure because I don't see him spotlighted, but I think Monsur is here from CJID and he's going to take us through the presentation.
Thank you, Lakshmi. And Nicholas is here as well. I think he needs a second.
Hi, Lakshmi. Good day.
Hello.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please go ahead.
All right. All right. So we'll be presenting Know Your Leader, an AI-powered chatbot that helps citizens to understand the political stance of the candidates. So one of the most important aspects of any election is understanding where a candidate stands on a variety of issues. And this means not only looking at what they are promising, but rather what their track record says about their positions on a variety of topics, such as on economy, social issues, foreign policy, environmental issues, including climate change. Know Your Leader will be an AI-powered chatbot that allows the public and journalists to check political speeches. Monsur, could you move the slides? All right. So understanding political candidates' stances is critical for informed voting, but information is often fragmented, inaccessible, or inconsistent. Okay, I'm just going to move it myself from here. Our solution through Know Your Leader be to centralize and analyze political candidate statements to help citizens and journalists track their positions on all of the issues highlighted. This matters because it empowers informed decision-making. It helps to promote political transparency and accountability, and it reduces the misinformation and biases that are often spread during elections. Our data gathering approach employed a mix of both manual and automated media monitoring. We also deployed web scraping of social media platforms, including Twitter and Facebook. And we did audio to text transcription, as well as video to text transcription. It is very important to note that most of the speeches that were tracked were very well refined speeches of this candidate, and most of the time they were not particularly written by the candidate. So it is difficult to ascertain what their true positions are based on the speech that you find from their political accounts or their social media accounts. So we employed real-time tracking of their comments based on media engagements, where they are speaking with journalists in real time, or more spontaneous comments from the candidates when they're responding to question and answer from journalists or even from citizens engagement through town halls meetings. And this is very common in the Ghanaian from the Ghanaian candidates who were like a major part of the data we've collected. Although we worked on two major elections, which is US elections and the Ghana elections, but the largest chunk of our data comes from the Ghanaian elections, which is coming up in 2 days' time. Yeah, so we're from their video to the camera, and video were translated into text. There were comments that reflect their true philosophy and their true place in the hearts of the people. Yeah, so a lot of these comments were also made in local languages, and we're able to get a team to translate these languages into English, and we deployed Dubawa.ai. It's also an AI-powered transcription app that was built by the CJID that helped to pick the dialect and help to translate it easily to English. Then we got an extra layer of team to read through to ensure the consistency and ensure that the comments are well translated. Yeah, so all of these were collected from a very large of data that were now translated into a JSON format, and after being formatted, we now take it forward to use it to train the model. Monsur will speak more on that part of how we took it forward to train the model.
Thank you, Nicholas. So our technical approach was on we built the backend with a fast API for high performance API handling, and then we integrated with the front end. And our data storage, for data storage, we used Chroma to retrieve the document embeddings, and all of our data was formatted into JSON format, both the transcripts and the tweets and all of that in JSON format, and everything was uploaded for each candidate based on each election. And for the user query, they're sent to an endpoint, which does the document matching to retrieve the relevant data from the Chroma. And then the response is processed through a LangChain pipeline using OpenAI's ChatGPT 4o latest model. So I'm just going to give you a walkthrough of the product. It's live on knowyourleader.ai, so you can also check it out as I move on. And this is just the landing page, and when you go to the About Us, it just tells you a little bit more about the Know Your Leader platform. And then the featured elections is the section where each election that we are featuring is put on. So for this, so far we've worked a little bit on the US presidential election, but a lot more on the Ghanaian elections, which is coming up later this week. So this is the interface for the Ghana elections, and you can see it gives you on the left-hand side, it gives you a little bit information on the upcoming elections. You know, what are the main election issues? So this prompts users to understand the major issues, you know, and it allows you to know the kind of questions that need to be asked as well. Apologies. So and you have some suggested questions which are going to guide what you are asking from the chatbot. So this is an example which says, what is John Mahama's position on economic development and job creation in Ghana? And from the response, you can see that it states what his economic position is as reflected in all of the data that we've collected. And then it provides you with sources for each of those responses, so that you can read up on it, you can follow up on it. So that's one use case. Also, you know, this is another example of what are Dr. Bawumia's plans for addressing inflation and stabilizing the Ghanaian currency. And from this, you can see he has plans for stable currency, for predictability, and gold purchase program by the Bank of Ghana. So all of these are from his statements made by he himself. And another key thing is that you can compare the stances of these leaders in the elections. So this example says, compare Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama's plans on economic development and job creation in Ghana. So it gives you a structure where you first see what each candidate's vision is. So John Dramani Mahama's vision, which is 24-hour economy for economic growth, economic stabilization, and recovery. And then further down, you see the Dr. Bawumia's vision, which is focused on job creation for youth and proactive engagement. Then you also see this next section, which shows you the key comparisons between the both of them on economic strategy, on their engagement style, on the timeline of implementation as well. So all of these, like we said, are from statements made by they themselves. So it gives you a comprehensive overview of what their stance is. And then it's also used for fact-checking of certain statements which can be said were made by the candidates. So for example, does Bawumia promise to develop 200-bed health facility in Ghana? And it tells you that based on the provided context, there's no mention of Dr. Bawumia specifically promising to develop a 200-bed health facility in Ghana. However, the context highlights that Dr. Bawumia broke ground for construction of a 100-bed district hospital for a district under the Agenda 111 program, which aims to ensure that every district in Ghana has a hospital. So this, for context, Mahumia is actually the current vice president of Ghana. So that's why you can see what he has done already being brought into the context here. So I think a good example from the U.S. elections is that how has Donald Trump's stance has been inconsistent over time on key issues, and I think Trump is quite popular for being inconsistent on some of the things. So I just brought up that example, and it brought about election integrity on January 6th, which says during a debate, Trump reportedly did not disavow the events of January 6th and avoided providing a clear answer on whether he would stand by the results of future elections. So this lack of clarity is indicative of shifting or ambiguous positions on fundamental democratic principles, and it provides you the source. And interestingly, that's a claim made by Kamala Harris as well. So it just helps you track the consistency of the political candidates over time as well. And this is a section on the frequently asked questions. And I think one very important one that I think a lot of people would want to ask is how accurate is the information provided by Know Your Leader? And we ensure high accuracy by using only statements made by the leaders themselves. The data is processed through advanced AI techniques, and where applicable, references to the original sources are provided for transparency. And then how's the data updated? The platform updates data regularly to include new statements as they are made public. So our goal is to keep the information as current as possible by monitoring their social media, press conferences, and other relevant channels. And the platform is free to use. And I think that's much about the platform. So now, what are the challenges and the learnings for us? So I think from the data accuracy, ensuring that the reliability by sourcing statements directly from the candidates. Initially, we wanted to get statements from other people as well, but we figured that might introduce some bias and unfairness in the regard, and that's why we did not include that. So everything you see on here are statements made by the candidates themselves. Also, the data diversity, managing varied formats such as text, video, and transcripts. That's something that was a huge challenge. We needed to transcribe the video and audios and then convert it into JSON formats. That was a lot of work, and it required some manual hands-on work. So we used the Dubar.ai to transcribe it into the Ghanaian English, and then we had humans actually do a review of all the transcripts to ensure a high level of accuracy. And then the translation as well. So for the Ghana elections, some of the statements were made in local languages, and we had to find a team in Ghana who translated all of this text into English to make it more comprehensive. So the potential impact for this is that we are empowering journalists because they can conduct faster fact-checking and enhanced reporting with AI-driven tools. And it's also helps to engage citizens, providing a single platform to access, compare, and understand candidate stances, which is very crucial for election purposes, for people to understand where their leaders stand and who to support and all of that. And as a whole, it helps in strengthening democracy, fostering accountability, and reducing political misinformation. Oftentimes, during certain elections, candidates come out and they're saying one thing which is different from what they've been saying over time in the past. And such hypocrisy is something that this platform is going to allow us to detect. So next steps for us is that we want to roll out for major elections in 2025. And we also want to introduce infographics and charts for easy understanding. So where the comparisons are being made, we think it's important if it's from an infographics and charts perspective, so that people can see, a timeline of how their stances have changed or how it's been consistent over time. Also, we want to introduce multilingual capabilities for inclusivity of this. And we also want to have some sentiment analysis of the candidate statements and see what other journalistic tools, can be integrated into this to make it more robust. And these are the guys that worked on this. We have Mohammed from Al Jazeera, Anes from Al Jazeera, and then Nicholas and I from the CJID. And thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, Nicholas and Monsur. That was a really great presentation and a lot of interest from a lot of people in the chat box as well. If anybody has questions for them, please feel free to use the Q&A functionality. I know there's one question in there right now, but we'll wait for more questions to come in. But meanwhile, I'll take the question from Phil and pose it to you both. Could this tool be used to check whether promises made during campaigns are acted on or delivered by winning election candidates?
Yes. So because for example, the US election has been concluded, yet we are still providing support on that, meaning you can track what Donald Trump has said during the election period, and see whether those promises made during the election. So you could search something like, what were the promises made by Donald Trump during the election, and it's going to just give you a list of all of those promises, and you can use that to compare with what are the activities of things that he has carried out, right now. So yeah, I think so.
Amazing. The next one isn't a question, but again, I'm echoing what many people in the chat are saying. Amazing work to both of you. If you all have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box, because I'm not monitoring the chat and I don't think either of our panelists are either. Meanwhile, I thought I could ask one question since we have about 2 minutes time. Okay, wait, there's another question which I think is more important. So let me ask for that. Jay wants to know, do you have a defined list of politicians you tracked while gathering your data? How did you account for changes in a leader's position on a topic?
Okay, so for the list of politicians, so we did this based on the elections that we were featuring. So for the US elections, it was Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and then for the Ghana elections, it was Bawumia and John Mahama. So we're focusing on the major candidates in particular elections. So for next year as well, we are looking at more elections where the major candidates will be featured. And on how you account for changes in the leader's position on a topic. So we are doing this by analyzing what their statements have been over time. So for example, what did Trump tweet in 2020, perhaps when he was president? What is he tweeting now, before the elections? As a president, what were you tweeting? As right now, what are you tweeting? Like, what are you saying on interviews? And so we use that to track the changes, or sometimes they have actually been consistent on their stances, so we use that to track over time.